You are listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm joined by my two friends, Amanda and Tyler. We are a trio of coaches on a mission to ignite a collective movement where authenticity, self discovery, and purposeful living take center stage. Each episode, we go live in the Kaya way. Kaya is an open invitation to show up authentically and vulnerably. It's a safe space to allow ourselves to be worthy and enough now. It's a celebration of our individuality and diversity. So welcome to the show. We are happy that you're here, and we invite you to join us in today's conversation.
Hi, friends.
Hello.
We're back.
Yes, we are.
We're here.
Yeah, I just feel like a warm hug.
We usually do the hugs in the end. We can do them in the beginning. Okay?
Start with like a nice warm hug. That's a good way to kick off today's show. I could also use a warm hug. I think that's a good space to be in.
Yeah, I could get warm hugs all day, every day. Give them and get them.
Yeah.
Too bad that's not a job.
I bet you, I don't know, actually. I wonder, I feel like, okay, maybe not physically, but I think as in the work that we do, we kind of do that, right? Like maybe it's not actually we're sitting around.
In a metaphorical sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Metaphorically,
Absolutely.
yes. Not literally.
You know what I was so astounded by a couple of months ago? I was in this coaching course. I don't know if I ever shared this before here. And there was another participant in that course, and she was sharing that it was the first time for her to book a professional snuggler. So there was actually this person coming to her house and doing a snuggling session with her. Like, they were total strangers, and there's apparently this app. I don't know what the name is. She just told the story. And I was so blown away how, first of all, I mean, in one way cool, but also sad this is. It's I feel like it goes a long way of saying what state our society is in general. But there's literally a place where you could go and you can book someone to come to your house and have a snuggle session with you. This was someone from the States. I need to say that.
Okay, so I was gonna say this probably is a job because I think at this point in the world, everything's a job, right? Like you can turn anything into a job as long as well, I guess not for everyone that you're passionate about it, but I think that's something that we're passionate about is finding that alignment with your passion. But I didn't actually think that would be a thing, so I kind of restrained. But now I'm wait a minute.
That is it totally it still blows my mind when I talk about this. I'm what?
This could be a job. Wow. Fascinating.
I would hate that. That would not be my job.
Doing that job of being
doing that job, because I struggle with physical touch. That's not physical touch is not my love language. And so even I like our virtual hugs because I'm oh yeah, I'm just patting myself. This is good. But when I actually have to hug people or things like that, I struggle with physical touch, not at all my love language. So that would be my worst nightmare to have that career, to be the professional.
What is your love language? Your major one?
I think I don't even know. It's to me, I think it's gestures. Actually, I think it's doing things. So if somebody does something or and I'm that way too. My love language, I will do something for somebody, and that's my expression of love. It's not through touch, and I like receiving that as well. So if somebody's thoughtful and does something little for me, I'm oh, that goes a long way. That is my love language. That's a good question.
You just said it, Amanda. It's called acts of service.
Yeah,
acts of service. Thank you. That's the correct terminology.
In the test language,
Yeah. What is y'all's love language? Good, interesting topic there.
Yeah, I'm so curious. That's why I asked. Amanda, what is yours?
So for me, it's kind of interesting because it depends on the relationship, which is kind of, yeah. But definitely like in that like acts of service, words of affirmation, that arena for me for sure. Usually like scores pretty high depending on like across the board on all relationships. What about you, Stephanie?
So mine is time.
Ooh, quality time. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's like 40%.
Oh.
I pretty much remember my last test scores. I think it was 40% for time. And then the others were pretty equal. So the acts of service, the words of affirmation, and then there's another one I'm forgetting right now. They were like all second, and then gifts were like 1% or whatever. Like, I don't care if you gift me something. I just don't care. Unless it's like concert tickets to Beyonce, of course. Just FYI. But yeah, so time is definitely like you super score with me if you.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I like forgot about that one. That's a biggie. That's yeah.
I feel like that's probably very big in the coaching space. Like, bet you a lot of coaches really score high on time, because I forgot about that too. Like quality time is really big, you know, and pairing that with like a little act of service or a little gesture, like that goes so far with me. But it is like, and I think that's why I love this space, because it's quality time. Like it is genuinely us coming together for quality time, quality conversation. Nothing gets me more turned on than a deep conversation. Like, and not in a weird way, but just like in like oh my God, like let's go. Like if you wanted let's talk deep, let's go there. Like that's what I love. And so I really struggle with like dating apps and everything, because I cannot get over the hey. I'm like, come on, y'all. There has to be more to a conversation than hey. Like we can go deeper than just hey, right? Like I'm not the only one who feels that way. Am I? Like,
definitely not. That's why the three of us are here. So for sure not. And what I love too is like we're not just saying time, right? I really feel like emphasizing that quality time, because that's something even like that I notice with my clients. I'm helping them sort of, even they're helping their parents, right? So I'm typically working with the teens, but like the parents obviously are a part of it because they're part of the relationship. And so, you know, something that I'm often helping them discover is their own love language for parents and also their kids' love language, right? And recognizing that sometimes that can also shift. But when we talk about quality time, it's like, you know, we're really being intentional with the time, right? It's like, well, you know, I drive them here and I drive them there. And it's like, okay, well, that's great. But like, that's time. And for some, it may be quality time, but not for everyone, right? So that it's so important to emphasize this like quality of that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's such a great point, because I feel like oftentimes when you throw time into the equation, and that sounds very parenty of like, well, I drive them here, I do them, I take them there. And that almost sounds like an obligation, you know? And an obligation is way different than like actually curating like a quality time space where it's like, again, it's the intention. It's like, what is the energy behind the time that you are putting into it? Like that's actually a very big thing, because like parents, and I can totally see this because you were saying this and it's like triggering from like my childhood of like when, you know, my mom would get all pissy and be like, well, I take them here and I do that. And I'm like, yeah, but that's just because that's your job as a parent. Like you have to drive your kids places when they're in things until they're able to drive themselves. Like that's the basics of parenthood. Am I wrong there? And so it always felt like an obligation. I always felt like she was forced to have to do this. And then in return, it was always like, I had to be like grateful, which I was, but like almost, you know, like it creates such a weird relationship like with parents, and like this whole idea of like they're forced into these things. And I'm like, well, that's literally the job of parenthood, right? Like, you got to take your kids places because they're your kids, and that's what you're supposed to be doing. But it always felt like an obligation sometimes, and I hated that feeling as the kid.
Well, I think we could like have a fierce debate about what constitutes like the job of a parent and what does not. But I'm going to refrain from that. Something I also wanted to throw in, and I also have these like crazy childhood flashbacks right now as you were talking about this, Tyler. I'm like, yep, there's the guilt, and there's the, you know, like contractual relationship with the parents of what is expected of one another without anyone ever sharing anything. So yeah, definitely fun stuff to explore with your therapist. But yeah, something that I wanted to throw in was this, like, now as an adult and understanding our love languages, I'm also very like allergic to the opposite of that. So if I do spend time with someone, sometimes I'm noticing myself, I have certain expectations. So let's say I'm out with friends and then they are all on their phones. Like, that makes me so angry on the inside. Like, I'm like,
I feel that.
what the heck are you doing? Like, we both put it in our calendars to go to this restaurant or whatever, and now you're just on your phone. Like, I think I need to like establish a rule, I don't know, and say like, okay, you can bring your phone obviously because you need to text or do stuff or want to listen to music on the train or in your car or whatever, but you know, as soon as you get to the date, you know, here's the sack, put your phone in, and you're not going to get it back until the date's over or until our gathering is over. Like, seriously, because I feel like people are unlearning to communicate with each other as it is. And the phones are, or like, I have to check my phone. It's like this addiction to the phone. It's not because they don't want to, and I know it's not personal. I know it has nothing to do with me being boring or something. But of course, if someone constantly checks their phone because they're addicted to the scrolling or whatever, or they just so used to it that they can't just focus on someone for 30 minutes, I don't know. It's like, it gets me just so, why? Like, I'm doing this, and then I somehow have the expectation that the other person should do the same thing. Yeah, it's a lot of agitation.
I feel that, and you're definitely not alone in that. And I think it's so fascinating that, like, I'll be really intentional with, like, sometimes I'll just leave my phone at home on purpose, and you really start noticing all the times that, like, you know, I'm waiting there for, you know, my Starbucks drink to be ready, and like just that natural, the automatic, like, pull out your phone and just like start scrolling while you're waiting, or you know what I mean? Like, when your phone's not there, you really notice, or like even so simple as how many times you look at your phone to check the time, you know? Suddenly I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what time it is. That, like, you feel so lost, but it feels so, there's something freeing about not having a phone. And I think being able to like really be present with the people you're with, like, so many times I go places, like, you go to restaurants, you go to the mall, like anywhere, and you see groups of people and everyone is on their phone. Like, oh gosh, it breaks my heart, because we are, like you said, really losing that like connection to each other, though we think that we are still connected because we're like connecting through technology, but it's not the same. It is not at all the same.
Oh, I have like so much that I want to like like that's it. But it's so like our dependence on technology and our dependence on being plugged in is very scary. Like so I'll share yesterday. And Amanda, I love that you have like your unplug Sunday where you're like, I don't get on, I don't really touch my phone yesterday. Well, yesterday I was doom scrolling. Like yesterday, for whatever reason, I could not put my phone down. I could not like I was just Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, like all over the place, just like consuming so much content that I got into this like space of, oh, the world's fucked. Like I mean, it was such a bad headspace to be in, because there was like viewpoints over here, there was viewpoints over here, there's voices over here, and it's like, and I appreciate that technology is like opening up the doors to bigger conversations, but at the same time you have to find that balance and know like when enough is enough, you know, because I was so stuck in such a negative space all day yesterday, just consuming all of the content and thinking about all of the terrible what ifs and possibilities and this and that, and, you know, everything that's going on right now in the world. And I was exhausted. I was absolutely exhausted. And I just was like, I can't do this anymore. And it's weird because I'm in this weird like space right now where I'm like running a 40-day visibility challenge with some of my clients, and we're like supposed to be posting on social media. And I was like in this weird space of like, I don't want to post today, and I don't want to add anything to the conversation, and like I don't want to create something stupid. And it was like I was in this like spiral of like there was like stupid content over here, and then there's serious content over here, and then stupid content, and then serious content, and I was like, it was like a tornado going through my brain. And how many of us experience that at one point or another, where we're just hit like a little low, and then all of a sudden we just spiral because social media and technology makes it so easy for us to like get sucked in and go down that rabbit hole. And and again, it comes back to this idea of like the intention and the quality and the consciousness of being able to kind of break free and go, oh, this is not healthy right now. What I'm doing, like it comes back to that awareness and building that understanding of what it is that you want in that moment. And like I knew I was really struggling, and I was like, I can't do this. And I had to go outside, and I took my phone with me outside because I was like, I need to create videos. And my response to like the video overwhelm was me pulling out my phone and recording just a couple of like Tyler's thoughts. I don't know if I'll ever post them, but it was like a way for me to kind of completely like unplug and like let go and release all of the crazy thoughts that were going on in my brain. And those videos are wild. Like I was watching them and I was like, ooh, I was in a weird space yesterday. And like, but it's so like, this is what happens when we're, because it's so easy to get sucked in, and it's so easy to like feel like we're connected because there's so many voices on the internet. But like, there's also this lonely feeling as well, where it's like, okay, you're not truly connected because these people that you're listening to, they're complete strangers. They have no idea who you are. And it's just this like such a weird space, such a weird.
I think that's right. That is exactly the reason why there's so many statistics saying that it is eventually bad for your health for your mental health to consume so much social media stuff. I had a similar experience a couple of weeks ago where there was like 2 or 3 nights. I don't know if I was like mentally a little in an odd space. I must have been, because I went on Instagram and I just kept scrolling, and I think I taught my Instagram scroll feed thingy at least to show me like somewhat not disturbing content. So it's like a lot of like just whales floating around in the water, or some dogs doing some fun things, or I don't know. There was this one video. I'm just going to share this because it's hilarious. So there was this golden retriever who was going into this like lake and taking a duck and bringing it to land because the retriever thought that the duck was drowning. So that was like so adorable. So those kinds of things, right? And of course, it gives you this little like endorphin boost if you watch that kind of stuff, or just if you go on social media in general. but then I just also kept, I think, what we call doom scrolling, and I kept consuming more, and I wanted more, and I noticed, wait, there's this hole inside of me, and I'm trying to fill this right now with social media. And I did that like 2 or 3 nights in a row. And then I had this thought, and I think that was very similar experience what you had, Tyler, of like, wait, why am I watching all these people live their lives? And I feel like right now the life is more being sucked out of me, and I'm not allowing myself to live. I'm just in front of the screen trying to, again, like stuff something down that is supposed to fill the hole, but it's not gonna until I get up and live my life, kind of. So for me, it's just like this gigantic distraction. And then I tapped into that part of me. And this is like a very emotional journey that I went through in that moment, of, okay, wait a minute. I know what it feels like to be fully alive. And I think scrolling on social media just like kills that completely for me. And then I got up and I was like, okay, this is taking my life away, but I want to experience something that gives me life, that makes me feel energized. And because I had that experience before, I know what it feels to feel really alive. I could say no to the social media. And I think this is why this is so hard, because it takes the, first of all, it takes the courage to say no, and then also to focus on what we want versus what we don't want. And I think that's really hard to do. I did that there. It took me 3 nights, but then I did it and it was really cool. And now I'm like, why did I doom scroll? Like, why did I do that? This is such a drainer. But yeah, sometimes I guess I was in this mental state that just got me there, and it was helpful for 5 minutes, but not when I do it like an hour. Yeah.
Question, because I like this idea of like, you know, being fully present and you know, that power that we can feel. When do you guys feel fully present? How do you know you're fully present?
Oof.
What a question. Cool. When do I feel fully present?
I think, well, like based on our conversation so far, I think it's like, first off, when you're not connected to technology. You know what I mean? Like when technology is not around. And
can I challenge that?
I was about to challenge that too.
Yeah, please.
I feel fully present right now,
This is
and
actually
we are
that's fair.
we are
Fine.
in technology.
Okay, but like, I guess we're like playing an active role in that, as opposed to like when you guys are talking. I guess like my mind was going initially to like the doom scrolling, like the just like mindless. So maybe like there's like a mindfulness aspect to it, I guess, right? Because yeah, you're right. No, same thing. Like I do feel present in this moment here. So I guess technology can be part of it, but is it then how we're using the technology? Is that the best way to like look at that? Or like, not sure how would you guys sum that up then?
Well, I think technology doesn't have to be like, whether technology is a part of it or not, I don't think that really matters. Coming back to Tyler's question, because I was also thinking about like when I give a speech, I'm like so there, but then I also have a microphone, and that's technology too, right? So that's why I think, okay, technology doesn't matter.
Okay, no, let's not start with the technology. It's just because of what we first talked about, but it was more of like that mindless scrolling. So that's definitely not it. So
absolutely, yes.
Yeah. But what is it?
I think it has something to do. I'm just gonna brainstorm here as I talk, because I have no idea. And it's a feeling. It's this like tapping. I don't know, being tapped in. And it's when, I don't know, when I want for nothing. It's just, it feels so, it gives me energy. It's when I know like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I have no doubts. I'm very certain. And it can be several things, you know, like I said, it can be being here with you guys. It can be speaking, coaching, But it can also be dancing. Like I'm such a passionate dancer, and there's these moments when I just did that yesterday. I was celebrating something that I've accomplished with my own coaching practice, and I just put on music and I just put on the songs that I wanted to listen to, and then I danced, and like really this like dance like no one is watching. That's what I did, and it felt like so. Yeah, this is what I'm meant to do right now, and I'm just enjoying. I think just being 100% present sums it up very well.
Mhm.
Wherever you are, 100% present. I keep coming back to like it's a feeling that you have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, it's an internal and an external experience, because you not only is it like are you present, but you're present in space and in your body. And like Stephanie, like just thinking about you dancing yesterday, there's present dancing where you
Mhm.
really feel into your body and you feel the flow and your muscles and the movement, and it's energizing.
Mm.
And then there's times when you do mindless dancing and it's not as enjoyable or invigorating or whatever. And because I was just thinking about that, about the gym. Like this morning I was super present in the gym, and I know when I'm having a very powerful present moment, because I can feel every single muscle like retract and tighten and flex and everything like that. And it's such a beautiful, harmonious embodiment feeling to kind of be so present in your body and in your power and in that space. Because what happens is everything around you like just drifts away. And as like Stephanie was saying, like it's like nothing else matters in that moment. There's no worries. There's no like, what am I going to have for breakfast? Or, oh my gosh, I got to go accomplish this, or this is coming up on my to-do list. It is just this power of, oh, I am here now. And that's why we keep, I think, coming back to this idea of like, it's a feeling. It's a, and that's the only way to kind of explain it, is like, you have to be present to experience the power. And when you do, and I think anybody can ask that question. How do you know you're present? When do you know you're fully there? It's a feeling. And we all have different ways to describe that. But I think it's very like, I think part of it does have to come back to you are in your body as much as you are in that space.
And I think that also means we're like eliminating distractions, right? Whether that is like the scrolling, whether that is the mind chatter of the to-do list, right? Like we've eliminated those distractions, then we're fully in this moment. And I'd also say that this is like, even while you were both describing these experiences, what I was thinking was like, there is this, and I think this is the feeling, like that effortless flow of, those things that you do, and then all of a sudden it's like 3 hours later and you're like, oh my gosh, how did like 3 hours go by, because you're like fully there and present and in that moment. It's really incredibly powerful, but it's one of those things where like when like when you're there, and if you've had that experience, you definitely know. And it's
And it,
yeah, go
can
ahead.
I just throw something else into this?
Yeah,
Because I think what we're talking about is really important, and I think it's also important to acknowledge that being present isn't always positive. Because I think
Ooh.
sometimes it gets kind of thrown as, oh, it's this blissful, magical, beautiful thing, when there are times when you are fully present and it's painful, and it is like you're going through something really tough in life, and that it's just, you're just feeling everything, and like that's still a beautiful thing, you know, that's still something that it presence doesn't always have to be positive, you know what I mean? And I think if we get into that headspace of, oh, it's always this joyful, beautiful thing, no, sometimes like the present moment is really shitty, and like that's okay, like that's okay to like sit there and kind of experience the weight of all of the feelings that come from that, because it's that whole like idea of like this too shall pass, you know what I mean? And that this whole like idea of like this is just happening now, you know, it's not a permanent thing, this is not a permanent state. And I think that is something to be mindful of, because I think, you know, this comes back to like meditation and the whole mindfulness practices and things like that around it to me it often gets kind of like romanticized as like, oh, being present is pure bliss, and that's just not the case. Like, you know, you can't like it's like you can't be in a permanent state of happy, you know, no matter how hard you try. There are moments of, there's ebbs and flows of emotions, and like that's the beauty of life, and the complexity of all of this is that you know, you have to be mindful and aware of where am I at right now. And you know, I'm looking back on yesterday's doom scroll episode being like, well, maybe I needed a little bit of doom scrolling. Maybe I needed to like just be present in that doom scrolly space and feel all of the emotions and the whatever was coming up, and then be able to say, okay, got that out of my system. Like, let's move on. Let's, you know, let that be in the past, because again, like today is a different day, you know, right now is a different time. And I think that's the real power in all of this, is that, you know, you don't have to be stuck in a certain state forever. And it's impossible to kind of live in like happy la la land forever too, like, because life happens and we have the ebbs and flows of it, and it's learning to ride the waves versus letting the waves kind of crash into you and push you down.
There's like this like mindful awareness. That's what's coming to mind for me. And I love that you're like giving the other side of the coin, because I feel like so far we really did talk mostly about that, like being in flow and just like, you know, kind of that the joyful side of it. And I think there is value in being present to the challenging things that life can often present us with, right? Because if we are, I want to say, like skipping over those things, or if we're not truly present to them, then we don't get to extract all the juicy lessons and all the things that we can learn from those challenging situations. And so when we can like feel it, right? Like that long term is so much more beneficial to our growth overall, because we're not just like, you know, stuffing away these like difficult things or emotions or experiences or whatever the case may be. Because as we know, if we don't take like and learn the lessons from that situation, well, it's just going to come up again and again and again. And we're going to be presented with that, you know, that lesson. And it just gets louder and louder. So we're better off being present in those times as well. But yeah, I feel like even for myself, like I've learned so much from really sitting in those difficult moments. No matter how difficult it may be, in the end, it always ends up paying off, I think. Yeah. So now I'm wondering, I'm like, our idea like of presence has kind of shifted slightly, I think, from where we started.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Right?
I'm also noticing, like, I think the things that we have said are not all like the same idea, or like contradictory at times. So for me, with the social media, I kind of find for myself that you're either on there with a mission or you were there for doom scrolling. It's like, for example, let's say I have a real estate business in, I don't know, New York. And so I will check Instagram where I have, signed up for all the other real estate people. And then I can find either clients there, or I can see what my competition does or whatever, right? So I have a mission, or I'm on there and then I'm just with no mission, you're doom scrolling. Like, that's just, for me, I don't know. It's a very black and white approach, but I think that's just the reality that it is right now. So I think what we do is that, coming back to, I think you both described this really a bit abstract. So I was like, okay, give me an example, right? Like, give me an example so I can understand this. For me, with the doom scrolling experience that you were describing, Tyler, and also my experience a couple of weeks ago, the way I see it is this, that I had some difficult emotions, like maybe I felt sad or lonely, and then I just used Instagram and trying to shove that away. And of course that doesn't work, but at least I feel good for the hour that I was doing scrolling. Right? And then I can say afterwards, I can do that reflection and I can say, that wasn't so great. I still don't really feel better. I felt better for 5 minutes, but now I'm back to feeling crabby. What do I do with that, right? And then after the third night, I was like, okay, so now I need to move on with my life, and just like, that's not going to give me what I need, right? I need a different strategy. And I think the beauty with this is, with those hard things in life, the other side of the coin, as you said it, Amanda, is that we need to do both. We need to feel it and we need to learn from it. Like the doom scrolling or the drinking or the eating or whatever, that's just shoving it aside. And then of course we can afterwards take inventory and decide, okay, what needs to happen so I don't feel that way again, so I don't use the booze or the food again or the doom scrolling. But also there's this component of really just allowing the feelings to be there. And that means that when we are present really to every moment, and that means being present to all the feelings we experience, that sometimes, yeah, I'm going to feel shitty. Sometimes I'm going to feel bored. Sometimes I'm going to feel lonely. Sometimes I'm going to feel really, really sad. But it needs to be there so it can pass. And then we can, maybe, like you said, Amanda, learn from the feeling. But I think we don't always have to have a lesson in that, to be honest. I think sometimes when we went through hardship, like let's say someone breaks your heart, right? Someone breaks up with you and they're ending the relationship with you, like the romantic relationship. There's nothing to learn, you're just sad because all of a sudden there's this person who was there in your life, and now they're no longer, and that hurts. And you just have to kind of, I don't know, maybe there are lessons eventually, I don't know. I think the crucial part of that process of breaking up is just to allow the sadness and be okay that this person has left, accept that, and accept that you are going to be sad about that for a while. But then it's also going to pass. And I think this is what you both mentioned with the other side of the medal of the coin, that being present is not always fun, right? Because we are not always having fun feelings. Yeah, so that's my side of it. I'm so curious, Tyler, because you mentioned before, like, doom scrolling, you can be present in this doom scrolling, and that I'm not on board with that. But maybe you can describe it again and I can better understand what you meant.
Well, I think it's, again, like, because, okay, so I'll just explain my situation yesterday. I got on there because, again, as Stephanie was saying, I was feeling certain emotions, and I think I needed, like, I was trying to find content to validate how I was feeling. I think that's a really big reason why we go to social media sometimes, is because it's like, okay, I need somebody to validate the feelings that I'm having here. And then what happens is because social media is such a hodgepodge of people and ideas and beliefs, and it's a freeway full of whatever, you get you get into this space of, ooh, this affirms, this denies, this affirms, this denies, like, and the thing is, like, I'm very aware, okay, and this is where I think you can still be present with doom scrolling, where you're like very aware, like I was very aware in the moment, because I think sometimes we doom scroll and it's completely mindless. And it's completely mindless, and we're just trying to numb out and forget everything, and that's very unhealthy. But yesterday I was very aware that I was doom scrolling, that I was like in this space and going down this like rabbit hole, and I even tried. I was like, okay, I'm putting my phone away, I'm gonna walk away. I came right back to it. And I think what shifted for me was this thought that I had about, like, what happens if I just let myself do this? If I just let myself go there until the point to where I finally made the decision to say, nope, enough. Like, we're gonna go take action. And I think that's the thing, is like the entire time I was very aware. And it was this weird, like, I was like present in the doom scrolling, meaning that I was like, okay, yep, I'm going to go to another video, scroll, going to go to another video, scroll, and then eventually, like, there was that moment where I went, no more, like, this has got to end. What can we do to change the environment, to change what's going on here? Because I had reached that, like, complete, like, moment of pure exhaustion, to where I was like, I cannot consume another thought from somebody else. And that, but that takes a lot of, like, it was actually very interesting yesterday, because that was the first time ever that I went down the doom scroll rabbit hole. And the entire time I was very present in the process, and kind of knowing that, oh, I'm going deeper. Yep. Yep. We're going there. I'm going deeper. Yep. And, like, to be that actively aware, to know, like, okay. And that's a level of trust that you have to have with yourself and with your, like, I don't know. It was a very kind of, like, meta experience, because, again,
it sounds like that.
I had never been that present while doom scrolling, because I agree with you, Stephanie. There are those times where doom scrolling, you're not present at all, and it's just completely numbing out, and you're just so unaware of what's going on around you. No, every step of the way yesterday, I was actively aware. And then I finally hit that threshold, and I went, okay, enough. What do I need to change here? And I think that's the power. Again, coming back to present, we can be in a negative space and be aware that we're in a negative space, and be okay with the fact that we're in a negative space, and then finally reach that threshold to go, okay, what do I need to change? What do I need to, how can I pull myself out of this? Or what needs to flip, or whatever? Because at some point there was that one moment where I finally went, no, enough. Like, I can't, like, this is no longer serving me in what I need it to be serving me. And that takes very active presence and awareness.
You know what that reminds me of is my old days of, like, binge eating, when I would, get out of it, and then I would start to eat the chocolate, and I'm like, that's not gonna get me what I actually want right now. And then I do something else, I don't know what. And then I realized, oh yeah, that was the right decision to put the chocolate back down.
Yeah. Because, again, like I said, I was like, okay, well, this isn't justifying my feelings, or, I'm not getting what I need from it. I asked myself, like, what do I need? And I was like, I just need to express myself. And so I literally, that's when I made the decision. I said, I'm going to go create a video, instead of consuming other people's content, I'm gonna go create my own.
The exact opposite.
And it was so freeing. And I just turned on my camera and I just allowed myself to talk yesterday. And then I shared that in my Facebook group of the Confident Creators Challenge that I'm running. And I was like, y'all, this is the most authentic, real, raw video I have ever created, because there was no filters. There was no holding back. It was just a free flow of consciousness. And it was the most cleansing experience to be in that space and to let go in that capacity.
I bet you were like 100% present when you did that video.
Yeah. Super. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a powerful question, right? Like, what do I need in this moment? Because I think when we answer that question, that is, and then we act on that is, but when we act on it in that moment, this is like presence. Or like when we're checking in with like, yeah, what do I need in this moment? Because I'm thinking of this like this coin as we've described it, right? The two sides. And like for both, there is this level of, right, when we check in with, what am I needing in this moment? And really, again, that feeling, like really feeling what needs to be felt. And maybe that taking action is just to like sit here in this moment and feel whatever is coming up. Maybe it is to dance. Maybe it is to record a video, like whatever that looks like. And in each moment, it could be something totally different. But maybe that kind of sums it up. Like it sums up both sides, right? Like it's the checking in with ourselves, that mindful awareness of like, what do I need right now?
And I wanna actually go away from the coin analogy. I know we use that a lot, but I think this describes it in a way that there's only one or the other, and there can't be like something in between. So I almost want to say it's like,
give us another one. Yeah, this
yeah, I think it's more like the moon, you know, like depending on where you are, you see different parts of the moon or whatever phase it is of the moon. You don't see it fully, or you see it not at all. And so it depends on, and then checking in with yourself and asking like, okay, what do I need? You know, getting more present is when you just, you know, you shift it just a little bit. You allow more of the moon to be visible or whatever. You could take something else, but I like the moon, so I'm going to go with it.
No, yeah, I think that, yeah. So
I think that is like, and because like Tyler, you had this beautiful experience of like, oh, I'm noticing what I'm doing. I'm noticing that I'm turning away. I'm noticing that I'm somehow trying to be present. I'm also not being present. That's my way of describing it right now. And then you tapped into the present and you said, nope, that is actually, you finally reached it. And then you said, oh, I'm going to do something else to actually be present and I need self-expression. So I'm going to go record a video versus watching other people's stuff. And this is then when, you know, you had like full moon, woof.
Yeah.
You turned it to your side. Yeah.
Oh, I like this better than the coin. I think that's so true, because we can also have like so many things really that we can be present to, right? It doesn't have to be, because life isn't just a coin. It isn't just black and white. It isn't just about like, oh, well, I'm either in flow or I'm not.
That's a good point. That is such a good point. Yeah.
Gosh, you guys, I feel like
I feel like we need like 10 more hours to fully like express this. But you know, I think what I'm always, and what I always take away most of the times is just how complex all of this is. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not just as simple as ... you know? And that to me is what I really deeply appreciate about the human experience and the human condition, is that this is complex. Navigating life, you know, presence, the whole mindfulness practices, they're simple in theory, but it's complex in application. And that to me is like brings me a lot of joy. And like in like almost kind of a sadistic way of like it's like a challenge. It is really like a challenge, and it's like a discipline, and it's a daily practice that, hey, we get to consciously decide, I want to get better at this. I want to be more present, more conscious of where my energy is going, where I'm spending my time, like coming back full circle to the beginning, like quality time. I think what makes quality time is, are you present or not? Are you actively choosing to be, a participant in that space, in that time? And this is like a really beautiful thing that we get to work on every single day. And you get to make that choice. Like, are you going to participate? Are you going to be conscious? And it's just fun. Like, this is what gets me excited about life. It's this right here.
Yeah. And it isn't just, quality time in relation to other people. It's also that the quality time with ourselves, and how incredibly valuable that is.
I feel like I want to put a pin in that and do do another episode just on that aspect of, spending quality time with yourself. Because I feel like that's like neglected area number 1 in humanity.
Yeah.
So let's put a pin in that. I'm so tempted. Amanda, why did you say that? Well, first of all, what a beautiful, summary, but also like, oh my God, I really want to go there.
Next time. Until next time, everybody.
I think what I'm just really enjoying right now is because we had the topic of quality time and presence that I did a lot of in this episode today. I did a lot of, oh yeah, this is a joyful place. Oh yeah, this space has never ever disappointed me, never. And it could never, no way. We are always here. We're always so present. And and I'm just like, so happy right now. And that's what I'm taking away. I'm just so in flow and so happy.
Oh, well, with that, we are going to leave you today. But I want to remind everybody that next week we are celebrating our 50th episode.
Oh my gosh.
And holy moly, we cannot believe it. We're having our 50th episode next week. Like, wild to think about. So join us live. We are doing a very fun Ask Us Anything type of thing. So bring your questions, bring your curiosities, and come really be a part of the conversation next week as Kaya turns 50. That sounds like no. As we celebrate our 50th episode, we don't.
Wow, we look
50.
good for 50.
Yeah, we look great. Yeah. Anyway, but yes, come join us next week as we celebrate our 50th episode. Woohoo!
Thank you so much, everybody. Can't wait to see you there.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Come As You Are, the podcast. You can follow the show on Instagram at Kaya the Podcast and on YouTube and Facebook by searching Kaya the Podcast. If you haven't already done so, please help us keep the conversations going by subscribing, rating, reviewing, and sharing this podcast. And be sure to join us next time for another deep conversation.